Hey, everybody. It's Penny, and I'm back with a special episode of the Soul Fusion podcast. I'm really going to dive deep with Tina today on her journey and where hypnosis has taken her in her life, and also to reveal a little something that's happening behind the scenes here at Elite Hypno Pro, and I'm really excited about that. Before we get into deep, if you've been questioning whether or not you have what it takes to step into hypnosis and take the skills that you already have and create a future with that, I want you to head over to the website. You can download 101 ways to create income as a hypnotist. And it's full of different ideas and different backgrounds that you can come from. You can take hypnosis and use it as a springboard into something new, or incorporate it into a skill set that you already have and create your own independent income. So the link is down below in the show notes, or you can go to pennychiasson.com/101 hyphen ways, and you can get that. I just really want to share that Tina is someone I have known for a while. We did some coaching together. We have a couple of things in common. She was diagnosed with ADHD, and she was the person that I reached out to when I was diagnosed and said, okay, like, give me your take on this. What are your best organization strategies? Because believe me, sister, before I even found out, I had tapped out everything that I knew. And I just needed to speak to another entrepreneur who got it and understood. She has hypnosis background. She has sales background. If I remember correctly, she used to lead a sales team. And she is one of the most integral people that I know. And she's a little bit of a no BS person like I am. We just kind of tell it like it is, like, not rude, not in anybody's face, but we just kind of tell it like it is. And I think we've been soul sisters for a long time, because from the moment we met, we just kind of naturally, it's like we've always known each other. So Tina, I'm excited to have you back on the podcast. Tell people a little bit about who you are, not the hypnotist, but who Tina is.
Who am I? Hi, everyone. First and foremost, Penny, thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure to connect with you. I always enjoy our conversations that we have. So I am a mama of two teen boys. Well, one 16-year-old and one freshly turned 20-year-old. We live in Whistler, BC, Canada. We're here for the lifestyle, the mountain air, the space. I want to say the slower pace, but it's actually the adrenaline junkie in me loves living here. My background, there was a point in time in my life where I was a professional athlete. That's where I got a lot of my adrenaline junkie needs met. And Whistler's actually where I feel most in alignment with how I want to live, how I raise my family. I came into the world of the ADHD community with receiving a diagnosis late in life. So 2013, 2014. And from there, I trained as an ADHD coach. Prior to that, I was a top sales leader in an international global company, top 1%. I'm still quite active in sales, working for other entrepreneurs, but my true passion, it lies 100% in hypnosis and the ability to help people reshape the way that they see themselves, and the ability to be able to move through challenges and obstacles that they're having. So whether that's, clearing the mental clutter, overstimulation, pressure. I came into it thinking that hypnosis would help me to better manage all of that. So, but yeah, in a nutshell, that's a little bit about me.
I have to say, one of the things that I love about you is we will connect and you talk about, oh, I'm out to ride the mountain bike, or I'm out to ski, just all of the different things. And it is one of those examples that gives me pause of, how can things be simpler? How can things be easier so you can actually live life and just not be caught up in all of the things, the job, the business, the running of the business, because things can be as hard and as complex and as complicated as we allow them to be. And just this morning, I was reflecting on something and it reminded me of something someone said to me in July of 2020 that just really turned the key in the lock. And when I read it today, I'm like, oh, I need to do a self assessment and see if I'm back into this pattern. And that is the addiction to struggle, to have something to fix. Because if having something to fix is what we're good at, then we're going to attract things to fix or to create or to pull together. So I love watching how you're laid back and you go through life.
Well, I do go through life and, I love that I have given you that perception. And to be completely transparent, that is how I strive to live. But I've had moments and I still do where I get really busy or I get just, many things on my plate. And what you just said a second ago about, I think you said, how can it be easy or how can you do less? Um, those are some really powerful things that I've learned to take into my life on a very regular basis. But truth be told, um, that comment that you made about individuals always looking for something to fix, the individuals that I've worked with, and even myself, um, sometimes they're not even aware that they are trying to fix something because there is this deep seated underlying belief on a subconscious level that they need to do more or they need to be better. And that, as even that can become habitual. So, yes, there was a part of me that has always been laid back. And then there's also a huge part of me that has done the work to be able to consistently recognize when I'm not in alignment, when I'm out of balance, when I've taken on too much, when I'm not present. Like a huge motivator for me in life is to be present with my boys. And I realize, not everyone that listens to your podcast has children, but anyone who does, you know, you're going to get that the ability, the desire to be present is so prevalent. We get so many gifts when we're present with our kids. And years ago, I wasn't for a period of time because I had too many things going on. And a lot of the tools and the skills that I've learned from doing the work, a lot of it from my hypnosis training. Like, this isn't a plug for you, Penny, but for anyone in the audience that doesn't know that I trained with Penny, I'm a former student of hers. And those skills that I've learned about how to reset my nervous system and how to bring back that sense of calm have been brilliant. And so it's like I've finally found a matching between knowing how I wanted to live and being able to have the skills and that sense of inner peace to be able to facilitate on that. And that's honestly like being present, spending time with my family, and actually being in this world, like being present is kind of what drives me.
Yeah. And it's definitely being able to just reflect and to know that either you've slipped out of alignment or you've gotten caught up in the doing. I mean, granted, when you run a business or you have kids, there's always something to be done. And I think that I fully and completely believe in ease. And I believe we can be very successful, wildly successful and do that with ease. And a lot of people mistake ease for sitting back and doing nothing. Ease is a state of mind, it's not a state of action. What do you think about that? I mean, how do you approach that idea?
I agree with you that ease is a state of mind. And my thoughts on ease being a state of mind in conjunction with knowing what I know and you know, it can be habitual to not be at ease. And if that is how we are wired, and that stems from earlier experiences in life, it makes it really hard to be at ease. I actually think until we get the internal narrative right, am I allowed to cuss on your podcast?
Sure.
Okay. Until we clean up our shit, we're going to keep getting the same results. And so that state of ease, who doesn't want it? I don't know anyone who'd said, you let it be easy. No, I don't want that. And it's not about letting it be easy, but that state of ease and being able to attain that and to recognize when you're out of balance is worth its weight in gold. And it weighs a lot.
Yeah. I mean, what was your experience with the training?
I got way more than I bargained for. I had done a fair bit of work around my identity beforehand. And so I was pretty clear on a lot of the habits and the behaviors and how I needed to shift my identity. I knew where I wanted to be, but it wasn't until I actually came into the hypnosis training with you that I fully understood it. And complete transparency, the training was that I was on a path to creating really positive shifts in my life. And this is after I struggled with an ADHD diagnosis for years. I just really had a hard time righting the ship in terms of being able to execute and follow through. When I went through the training, not only did I get the understanding of how it all works, but I actually got the tools to transform. And so the end result of going through the training was I walked out of that training into a turnkey business. And I had been having challenges executing on a viable and profitable business. I had all the tools, but I wasn't executing. And going through your training, I finished up the training and I immediately started taking clients, and I've never looked back. There's been no question, no hesitation. The amount of knowledge that I received in that training was incredibly thorough. So I left feeling confident, not just in myself, but also my ability to be able to actually serve and to be of value and to do what I had intended to do from day one.
I remember you had a very specific experience in that training with the mind, body, spirit self hypnosis. You had some kind of an ache in your neck or shoulder or something that it kept coming up, and that self hypnosis dissolved that away during the training. Am I recalling correctly?
Yep. It was actually in my knee. Yeah. I had a couple experiences just even with learning seventh path, which, um, really simple, straightforward process. And I had tried self hypnosis in the past, and I logically knew that it worked, but I didn't really feel like I was getting the entirety of the results that I was seeking. And so when I came into seventh path, um, when I learned the first recognition one through five, um, I had a completely different experience, and it was something that was really subtle. It was subtle, but it was Oh, and our body is constantly communicating with us, and it holds on to experiences. We make those interpretations of things, and it shows up in the darndest ways when we don't want it to. Um, and so, yeah, the self hypnosis portion and feeling something like ping me, like I was very aware of it, and then just poof, gone.
Yeah, it's really good stuff. It's really, really good stuff. Last weekend, you came in when I was re-recording the self-study portion. Compared to what that was like back in 2021, what do you think about the trajectory that the training's taking?
So I came into what was a 3-day training. And when I did my training with you, that was in 2020. It was
It
the end of 2020, beginning of 2021.
Beginning of 2021.
Yeah. I registered at the end of 2020. Um, it was thorough. I walked away with a turnkey, uh, enough knowledge to be able to effectively start a successful business. When I came into the training this past weekend as a guest, I was shocked that the amount of value that you gave for I don't know what the cost was to the training, but the amount of value that you gave in that 3-day training, anybody who goes through that, the individuals that went through will walk away going, okay, I get all of the foundations. Like they learned how to successfully put someone into trance and to get results. It was deep as far as value. Amazing. I was mind blown.
Yeah. I shared my secret sauce in that 3-day training as things have evolved, the identity matrix, and how I apply that. But I was sharing with someone in terms of understanding how to put the pieces together to get results. That 3 days was more solid than the 7 days that I took. It wasn't just a basket of different things and then you're left figuring out how to put it together.
No,
Yeah.
no, but that's where I, I know that I'm adequately, you left me more than adequately equipped to be able to go and start a business. And that was to have all of the skills and the trainings and the expertise. And when I came into the 3-day training and saw what you were delivering, I was like, wow, there was more upon it. Honestly, I don't know how you did it. I mean, I know how you did it, but it's amazing what you gave in that weekend.
There's so much that is it runs so deep in helping people. And rather than guessing, we have this framework where you can move through it and you have understanding of how your brain did what it did. So, how did that help you on your personal journey and maybe even with navigating ADHD after you learn the self hypnosis and the hypnosis? What exactly were you able to shift?
So how it helped me in my personal journey is it still helps me on a regular basis because I don't want to lead anyone to think that I am, you know, perfect. I am far from it, as we all are. We're always learning and evolving, but for being able to have an awareness around some of our habits and our behaviors, and to really be able to recognize what's going on. But the biggest one for me was actually the hypnosis itself. So previously, the stories. So, I explain it to my clients as, we've got a a hard drive on our computer, and it's full of a whole bunch of files. And in these files, there's some bugs. There's a lot of information, but it's the bugs that are corrupting the files that are dictating the output of the computer. Does that make sense? And so the biggest one for me was the ability to be able to transform the way that I felt and feel about myself. There's no reason for me to hold myself back. There's no reason for me to not follow through on something. There's no reason for me to, there's nothing stopping me from executing, where in the past, there was a bunch of programming. And when I went through the training, I understood that, oh, that's my mind, my subconscious brain, keeping me safe, because that's the number one role of our brain, is to protect us. But they're tools that I still use regularly. When I get up in my ish or I've got a beef with my kids or my partner, it's very quickly the ability to reflect. And if there is a slight trigger, which still, might happen in relation to something, it's very easily diffused, where in the past there might have been a trigger and I could sit and ruminate on it, or I could sit and get caught up. And so coming out of the training, the tools that you're equipped with, and a lot of it's knowledge, but a lot of it is also going through the training, like actually receiving the transformation yourself, so that we have a meticulously maintained hard drive that only has the best interests for us in mind. It's like any ill feelings, they're neutralized, and it's still something that regularly shows up for me.
One of the things about the training, but not only that, using the process with clients, it gives such a deep perspective into the human condition in general. When you're working with a client, if someone sits down across from you and they're dealing with some struggle, they've done what they can, and it's really impacting their life. When you sit across from them to work with them, what do you see in that person, especially that they may not see in themselves?
I mean, first and foremost, I see that they're human, and there's everyone has different challenges, but it's the ability to empathize, come from a place of compassion and understanding, but to also take a step back. So a lot of individuals with ADHD tend to be they take on everyone else's stuff at the same time. I'm not working to fix somebody. Um, the ability to be able to have a regulated nervous system, for me, I think everything is energy. And so when I'm coming in from a regulated nervous system and maintaining a place of calm, and to be able to have the ability when I'm in session with a client to be fully present, I'm not thinking about being solution oriented, or I need to go here, or I need to go there, or what if they come up with something that I don't have the answer to? It's an easy and effortless process of them presenting what's coming up for them and me leading them and walking them through a solution that they have chosen that is in their best interest. Does that make sense?
It does. I will say in the training often, I tell people, listen, just listen, and don't judge or put your own assumptions onto what they're experiencing, because one thing that you learn out of all of this is perception. And you can have 10 people sitting around the same table in a restaurant having a conversation and have something happen, and they're all going to have a different perception of that event. And that perception comes off of their past. And one of the things that I shared over the weekend, someone asked about, do I do the same first session for every client? Because they were taught that your first session for everything is self love, and the second session for everything is self trust. And I shared that at the root of every issue, almost, nothing's 100%, but almost 100% of the time, there has been some perception that created a sense of wanting to understand, was I somehow not enough? Did I do something that I didn't get the acceptance, the love, the affection? Did I do something wrong? Or how do I take care of the situation? This is where the fixer and the people pleaser mentality comes in at some level. How can I take care of this so I make sure I don't lose? I don't lose what's coming. But you cannot lead with that with the client, even though it's a byproduct of the work that we do. Because consciously we can love ourselves, but there can be something underneath that's carrying this misperception that it's not. And as we go through all of this, I just want to share with everybody this conversation we're having. It's not just about Tina's experience in the training, because this is a pivot point. It's a pivot point for the work. It's a pivot point for her. And it's just a pivot point for where things are going in general. It's not just about Tina's story, but getting to know Tina is such an important part of this conversation, because what's happening at this time, things are growing, things are expanding, and creating an impact is very, very important. And we're here having this conversation today because I want you to get to know Tina. I've wanted you to get to know her expertise and her perspective. I spoke earlier about her integrity, about her straightforward approach to communication. But I think you've probably also heard in her energy, she's very compassionate, very heart centered. And this is all about helping people to be who they want to be. Whatever it is that you come through the door with, it's about elevating into who you want to be. Does that mean your life is perfect? Does it mean it's utopian? No, life is life. It's about how we navigate it. So, really, what I'm telling you all here is that Tina is officially on the team. Tina is going to be working alongside with me, helping people with their personal, individual transformations. She is also the face that you will see when you connect to have your interview for your application to the Elite Hypno Pro Hypnosis certification, which is a dual certification. It's an NGH certification, and it is a 5-path hypnosis certification. She understands what I value, and she values the same thing. So, Tina, what does it mean for you to live in this work of transformation?
For me to live in this work, it actually is woven into every aspect of my life. It's how I show up. It's how I parent. It's how I self regulate. It's how I respond versus react. You know, hypnosis isn't purely something that I do. It's something that I live through awareness and embodiment. And, you know, I use all of the same tools that I offer to my clients, from self regulation, um, teaching them how to get curious, inquiry of self, nervous system regulation, you know, teaching somebody how to meet discomfort instead of avoiding it. That's the real magic of this work. And we're always going to come up against discomfort in life, because that's life. But be able to have this sense of awareness and to have the internal narrative and this sense of knowing that, oh, I can move through this, is really powerful. And so, yeah, to live in this work is exactly, it's woven into everything that I do.
When you're working with someone who's dealing with something really challenging, and you've already hinted at it earlier just a little bit, how do you help someone fix, to borrow a term, how do you help someone fix that?
Well, to fix someone would imply that they are broken. And so we are human beings. We are not broken. And so, it's interesting that you should use the words fix, because when I trained as an ADHD coach and when I was purely serving as an ADHD coach, I mean, that's why I came into hypnosis training, because I saw my clients who had this narrative that they were broken. Like, I just need you to fix. And so I don't have a tough love approach. I am always going to meet someone with, kindness, compassion, and understanding. But I also don't buy into that woe is me narrative. Uh, And I say that also coming from a place of, I bought into that woe is me narrative. And I actually spun my wheels for quite a long time, because I was trying to fix, because I was buying into a narrative that doesn't serve me. And so, that's a mindset that keeps people stuck. And so, yeah, I'm really about helping clients find that sense of inner peace, inner calm, rewriting the internal narrative stories so they can successfully move forward. It's like wiping the slate clean. And I can't even describe, well, I can actually. The feeling of something that has troubled you for your entire life, and then to all of a sudden, with the power of hypnosis, to be able to have that feeling neutralized. Me personally, I had to do a double take, because I was showing up differently. And it wasn't like it was an awareness of, oh, I just did that. And it didn't even register that I should procrastinate or not do that, because that was the habitual process that I'd gone through. And so it's like a light switch gets flicked and you catch yourself showing up differently. But it's noticeable, but it's subtle. And it's just this quiet inner confidence that continues to build and build. And, scientifically, we break those neural pathways. And once we change those neural pathways and we create something new, we continue to foster more growth in those areas. And it's, yeah, the most gratifying thing that I receive is that I am working in my purpose. I mean, funny story, but my kids always know when I have hypnosis sessions, because they'd come home from school And I would just be on cloud nine because you have these clients that have these transformations and they're individuals who've really struggled either, personally or in their relationships or with their past experiences, and to have them neutralized. So yeah, we don't need to be fixed. We just assist in learning new ways of being.
Yeah. I love that. I agree. We're not broken. And within therapy, there are segments. Nothing's 100% where the emphasis becomes so laser focused on having to unpack and know why about everything. And that is not that's not what I do. That's not what I've taught to do. I want to know how you help people with this identity level work, because I've had people say to me, Penny, what's my homework? Do you have a hypnosis audio for me? No, because we are breaking neural pathways and people say, oh, you can't break them. You can only create a new one that competes with it. There's a saying, once you know something, you simply cannot unknow it. And if you can go back and you can have hindsight and you can unknow something that was a misperception that has filtered your perception around all of life, that's definitive change. It is a distinct change that we get and we help people build upon in the work that we do. How do you support people in the bridge of that process with identity? Because there's what happens in the hypnosis, but some people may not have any frame of reference of how to be who they want to be. So, how do you bridge that?
For me, part of bridging, first and foremost is, you know, changing that internal narrative, but also being able to create that sense of safety. So once you know it, you can't unknow it. So creating that sense of safety in their mind, their body, that's all part of the process. And you touched on, you know, that framework and some individuals not coming in and knowing, right? So it's walking them through the process of, what is the identity that they want to step into? And then helping them get clarity around, the habits, the behaviors, the thoughts. It's this increased sense of awareness. And when we change the neural pathways, and so once it's changed, exactly what you said, once you know it, you can't unknow it. And so as human beings, I think that we all have this overwhelming sense, even if we're not aware of it, to feel seen, held, believed in, even if they can't see it themselves. Those are some really key points to it all, but it's really that inner sense of knowing. And so marrying the two and then creating a grounded space where transformation feels safe and possible within that framework. Previously, when I was only facilitating coaching, it's, and they didn't teach me this when I went through my coaching certification, but it's all on, all the things that you need to do. And so I watched, week after week, you know, people really struggling to execute on the tasks that they needed to do. And it's because they hadn't changed at the identity level. And so it's really giving people that framework and getting their feedback. It's a process. And we have all the answers. And the interesting thing that I find is that society has led us to believe that we need to get all of the answers externally. And so a really powerful question is, what if you could explicitly and wholeheartedly trust that you had the answers. You knew, because when we actually sit with it and we have that awareness and we've wiped away the faulty narratives, we do know. And it's just being prompted and asking the right questions. Sometimes they're going to be questions from, you or I. And sometimes it's teaching people how to ask themselves the really powerful questions, because I'm not suggesting that, well, we have everything within us to create change. I'm merely a facilitator.
That's so true. And I know that some people will be curious about this, the spiritual aspect. And I find that you're much like me, and I'll let you speak to this in just a moment as we get ready to wrap up. But we have our path. We are tuning in. We're silencing that inner voice so that we can deepen that awareness. But I don't put my spiritual beliefs on anyone. However, I know that even if someone has zero spiritual belief, that the journey within to come into alignment with who we want to be, that is the spiritual journey. That is the spiritual journey. So I think that for people who are talking about, I want to be more spiritual, start with the relationship with yourself.
It starts and ends with us.
Yeah.
And yeah, a pattern I've seen is, um, and one that I've successfully moved through and also have helped hundreds of clients move through, is really truly understanding that when we learn to sit quiet and to sit in silence and ask ourselves, what is it that I need most right now? Or to ask the questions that we need to hear, the answers, they come up, and society trains us to look externally. And the shift really happens when we truly know, oh, I know this. I've got this. It's a profound change when you wholeheartedly know without a shadow of doubt, I've got this. I might not be where I want to be tomorrow, but every day I continue to make more progress. And we do. The doubt is removed.
I could just go down a whole rabbit hole with that. I want to keep this on track and wrap it up here. So, what would you say to someone if they thought they weren't ready to do that inner work?
Readiness is a myth. Um, you grow into it by one stepping into it, not by waiting. The feeling that usually comes after you start, of feeling more prepared and at ease. It's always those questions and those seeds of doubt, like, I don't know if this is the right time for me, or maybe I should wait, or maybe I don't know if I can afford it. And those are all really valid questions. And once I actually understood that that too was also a subconscious narrative, because if I were to tell someone that you could go through this training, someone who hasn't gone through the training, you can go through the training, you can walk away from the training feeling completely more than adequately equipped to be able to launch your business, to work in the area of expertise, and to go out and have impacts. And they don't know what I know, but the way that the subconscious mind is going to work is it's going to hold you back. Go, but there's this, and it's going to create all of these excuses. And so, yeah, readiness it's a myth, and you need to be present, intentional, and committed. And, you know, even after you go through the training, clients don't need someone who has it all together. I hope that I never give someone the idea that I have it all together. I'm a human being. Your clients need someone who's real. So, yeah, readiness is a myth.
I believe the greatest thing that we can do is just validate the human experience. It is what it is. And whatever your experience is whatever it is in the moment, but it doesn't have to be that way for the rest of your life. So, um, Tina, I appreciate you coming on to share. Everybody, this really is a new chapter here. And I couldn't be happier with where things are going right now. So if you would like to um, connect with Tina, so Tina and I are providing the same transformations. You can go to the website, you can book in a consult. If you're interested in the training, apply. She knows the training inside and out. She knows what's possible. She knows other alumni. She has worked with them, become friends with them before I even got to this point of asking her to step in and be on this journey with me because our values are so aligned. Our perspectives around clients are so aligned. Go apply, have a conversation with her, dive in. And there are some other things that are coming um, that we'll announce when they're ready. But Tina, thank you so much for sharing and connecting with everyone today.
It's always a pleasure to connect with you, Penny. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, everybody, be sure to like, subscribe, leave a review, do all the things. And by all means, maybe you're not interested in the training, but you want on the mailing list, you want to experience really deep theta hypnosis. Go to the website and you can sign up for the quick drop theta hypnosis. It's really amazing when you go through a process that intentionally takes you into a space where your body can go into a place where it can activate its own inner healing and that relaxation response, which is the true state of being that we're meant to live in because everything else is fight or flight. I'll see you next week.